Hey guys, Chris Superfast RC. Today we're looking at the Traxxas Rustler VXL two-wheel drive. Classic design, modern electronics, super fast speed, and something just fell out of it. Oh look, there's a battery spacer. So the Traxxas Rustler two-wheel drive has been around for a very, very long time. Going back all the way to 1994. This isn't a 94 exact model, but they're not far from it. You're gonna have the basic XL1 electronics here. Not much to go wrong really. Take the body clips off, give you a look under the hood. There went one flying. So the original Rustler, not much going on there. We've got, you know, a simple 2018 servo XL1 ESC and the Stinger 20 turn brushed motor, and a lot of black plastics, bushings in every corner, no ball bearings, and the same basic transmission. It's just gonna have all plastic gears and a 27 megahertz AM radio. Pretty simple, and for the sake of the video, we'll just leave that off for now. So move ahead about 10, 15 years, and they come out with this guy. Not this exact model, but it's pretty close. So this is a new body style for 2020, 2021. It's kind of the blue and the green. It's really cool. I like it. The yellow kind of flare it's got going on. I think it's one of the best looking Rustler VXL bodies that they've released yet so far, but just my opinion. They also make one in orange, so if you like orange, I like green. Like I was saying, not much in the basic design has really changed between these two trucks. They still have the similar chassis, exactly the same. One has the gray fiber reinforced plastic, and they say it's stronger than the black, but I've yet to see any difference really. Over the years, I haven't seen much. Other differences we've got, of course, this one's got the VXL3s brushless system in it, and that's going to propel this thing to a quoted 70 miles an hour. I could only get 66.5, but there's several factors that could play into that. Whether or not I had it geared correctly, which I did. I had it max geared, but 31 tooth and 76 tooth spur, and I just couldn't keep it on the ground. If I did some suspension mods, limited the travel, brought it way down like that, maybe we could have got it. But it is what it is. I got 66.5 mile an hour out of it, and that's still wicked fast, guys. I mean, for a two-wheel drive vehicle going that fast, stopping it isn't happening very fast at all. So it's another thing. Once you get into the VXL version, it doesn't stop. If you have to stop in a hurry, forget about it. It's just going to spin around and cartwheel into somebody's mailbox. But moving back to the comparisons, original Rustler came with 2.2 tires and wheels. These are 2.8 wheels and tires. A little bit bigger. I think that kind of aids in the speed a little bit. It kind of has a gearing up kind of reaction to that, but there's a little bit less circumference on the old one. I don't know if you can tell, but they're a little smaller. So moving on, drive shafts on the older one. Of course, you have the white Delrin plastic yokes. I don't know if you can see that there. Not a lot of durability with those. They don't last very long once you go past the stock power. Back in the day, as the first thing you replaced, you went with the steel ones. Or once they released the VXL version, you could buy the VXL parts. These are the black nylon reinforced ones, and they would work just as well, and they're a lot cheaper in price. So other than that, the similarities pretty much end there. I mean, they basically are the same car, but the power system is where the similarities end, and the transmission, and I'll get into that here in a second. So we're gonna go ahead and put this guy back up. just wanted to show y'all the similarities between the years. So if you have a year model, an older year model of Rustler and you wanted to upgrade it to brushless, really there's only a couple things you have to do: transmission and tires, drive shaft, stuff like that. Moving back to the Rustler VXL, so this thing came out around 2006, right when the brushless started to become more accessible price wise to the mass market, and Traxxas came out with this thing, and it was one of the first real fast RTRs that you could buy. I remember when it came out, this thing was all the rage. I mean, everybody had one, or if you didn't have one, you wanted one. But now over the years, it's kind of died off in popularity in favor of the 4x4, with obvious reasons. I mean, you get into traction issues with this thing at high speeds. Can't go as many places with it, but you will be surprised on where this thing can go with all that power. I mean, it's technically hard on the motor and battery to do that, but it can do it. If you're in a pinch, you just kind of throttle up and it'll power through the grass and do what you need it to do. So I've had this thing for probably 3 months now, and I put it through its paces. If you can see the body here, I want to go over to the camera over here. We're gonna have a look. Of course, the wheelie bar likes to do that as well a lot. So if you can see the body right there, it's got its fair share of scratches and bruises. A lot of those are from rollovers doing speed runs, but as far as the car itself, there's not much damage to it at all. If you can see right there, it's pretty clean. So it's a really durable platform. There are a couple weak points that I'll point out. I haven't experienced them with this one, but I have had it in the past. Your caster blocks up front, of course, they're plastic. They have a kingpin in there, and when that kingpin, when you hit something like this hard, that kingpin bends, caster block breaks. They make aluminum upgrades. I've got them right here on this old Stampede. And this is what you would have to do to get around that problem. So we've got an aluminum upgrade part right there from Traxxas, and that fits the Rustler / all the two-wheel drive Traxxas vehicles. It'll fit. So that basically eliminates that problem. But like I said, I have an experience with this thing, and I've had this thing go through some pretty sick tumbles here. Yeah, no breakages at all. It's been super durable. Motor temperatures, I've only thermaled it once, and that was doing speed runs at the max gearing, the 76 and 31 tooth pinion. So electronics are good. I don't really think you need to put a fan on the ESC. Yeah, just not that much to go wrong with this. Would I recommend this for a first RC car? Probably not. I mean, it would be a good one if you knew throttle control and everything. This thing's a handful. Once you get it going past 25, 30 miles an hour, it starts to behave a little differently. And that's just due to the tires ballooning and suspension kind of wallering around. But upgrades I'd recommend out of the box, really nothing. The only thing I would tell you, maybe aluminum shock caps. A lot of people have trouble with that. I've had it in the past, and I basically just eliminated it because this is a kit built car. I built it out of parts. I just went ahead with the what do they call these, the big bores? Yeah, and they come with aluminum caps and titanium shafts, of course. So the motor itself, back in the day, this was a 2-pole motor. Now it's a 4-pole slotted motor, which just creates a little bit more torque in the low end. And I think it also aids in temperature control, so you get a little bit more runtime with this motor without having to worry about overheating. So that's good. That's a nice upgrade. ESC is also an updated part from the original car. It's just a little bit more efficient, and probably a little bit more affordable to manufacture for Traxxas, as it does not include the sensor port. And nobody really used the sensor port that I can remember. If you wanted to run a sensor motor, you pretty much went with a Novak ESC, and now it'd be a Tekin, but Novak's been out of business for a couple of years now. So they removed the sensor port, and I think it just kind of cut costs a little bit on the ESC itself, which is fine. I mean, it does its job brilliantly. I have no complaints with it. This, if you can tell here, I'm not running the factory radio equipment in this. This would come with a TQI, and it would give you the option to add the telemetry and all the goodies that Traxxas likes to add on there. And it's fine, they work great. I've got one right here. This one's from my X-Max, and there's the wireless link module there in the back, so no complaints really with the factory radio. They're really nice. It's got a little antenna nub here, and if you want, you can get the little phone holder that clips onto the top, and then you can hold your phone here and read all your telemetry, speed facts. If you get the GPS extension module, you can get all that on your remote, which is cool. But I really didn't need that, so I just went ahead and used my SandWah and added the model to my collection in my radio. So tires and wheels it comes with, not the best tires. The front tires will last forever. You won't ever have a problem with those. But the rears, these Traxxas, sort of the Alias tires. On a two-wheel drive with the brushed motor, I could see where it would be fine. But on this VXL version, you know, I haven't put a lot of miles on these tires themselves. I've switched out for the Anacondas, but if you can tell, they're kind of getting to where they're a little bit spent, kind of missing a couple pins here and there, and they're getting kind of low on tread. That would be one of the first things I'd change out. If you're going to do the speed stuff, go with a set of belted tires, or you can go with the Anacondas. They last a long time. They've got a sticky compound. They're not a bad value, really. They're pretty affordable. I'd probably go with them all the way around. But if you want to just change out the backs, you can. These front tires, like I said, they're going to last forever anyways, so wouldn't really worry about them. On the chassis here, the battery tray, it's going to fit pretty much most batteries. Let me go ahead and grab a 2S for you. We've got a 2S right here, 5200Z power, and that's going to slot right on in there, and the hold down goes right on top of that. As you can see, no problems. It's not moving at all. Now, that little piece of foam that fell out before the video started needs to stay in there unless you're going to run a super long battery. I've seen some super long 3S's, but not anything that really you needed for this car, that much power, because you don't want to overdo it. So once you get that foam in there, it doesn't wiggle too much. This is a standard 2S size hard pack. I'm going to go ahead and show you a 3S real quick. The 3S, this is a 3S 5500 100C battery, or 80C, I'm sorry. So that's an 80C. Same size, roughly, lengthwise as the 2S, but it still has enough height clearance in the battery tray to fit that bigger 3S. So that's probably what I'd recommend for this, something right around this size. It's good weight. You can push it farther forward with that battery spacer, which is going to give you more more weight up front, which this car needs, is another thing I'll get into here in just a second. But yeah, as far as batteries go, your 3S's, 2S's, standard stuff, it's going to fit just fine. You want to use the Traxxas batteries, you can. I don't use them because I don't want to spend that much for the C rating on them. They're not that great. So some people say C rating's inflated on other batteries, but you know, I'd rather have one that says it's higher C rating anyways. Okay, so back to the car itself. On this model, since I built it from parts, I went ahead, used a screw kit. This one's from RC Screws. It's stainless steel hex head. Worked out great. I have no complaints with this screw kit, and plus it's stainless steel, so if you do end up running in water, you don't have to worry about them rusting out. So this would be a good upgrade for really any of your Traxxas vehicles. Like I said, RC Screws, they're really affordable. Moving back along into the car itself, so we pretty much covered everything on the chassis. The factory servo, it's a 2075 in this version. Actually, you know what? It might not be a 2075, it might be a 2055. Either way, they're kind of slow. This is just a digital version of the 2055. It's a little bit faster, it's got a little bit more torque, but the gears are still plastic. So even if it does come with a 2055, eventually you're going to have troubles with the servo. It's going to be slow, and you really don't want that when you're trying to do the high-speed precision stuff. You might want to go into something like a Savix 1258 or 1257 for this car, and get that extra speed and precision so that you can control it better at high speeds, because you don't want it walking to the left or right when you're trying to go 70 miles an hour. It just doesn't work out well. And of course, this is the one of the Traxxas vehicles has yet to get the upgrade to a clipless body. So, I mean, it is what it is. Clips have worked. I mean, for 30 years, 40 years now, we've all been using clips. And they work just fine. The clipless is neat, it's nice, it's fast, you don't have to worry about losing clips. It is the future, and I'm sure eventually they're going to update this model with the clipless, but they haven't done it yet, so it is what it is. It's kind of a classic thing. But yeah, the drive shafts themselves, they're plastic, but you know, you're going to get a lot of mileage out of these. I don't care what people say, they break. They break eventually, but out of the box, with factory size tires, I've yet to see one break, and at least it's from old age. If it's old, yeah, it'll break. But if it's not old, they're in good shape. You don't need to worry about upgrading them really until they break. So everything else on the car is pretty standard. It's just the old Traxxas platform. I mean, it's tried and true. It's not the best handling platform, but it takes abuse like none other. I mean, this is a very sturdy platform, and I mean, in the Rustler, it's kind of the ultimate. So the rear here, we've got the standard Traxxas wheelie bar. It's adjustable. That piece of foam just keeps falling out on me. Oh well. So if you're gonna do high speed runs, you can set it down here in the back. It's kind of hard to get it there, but once you get it there, it's clicked in, and it's not gonna let it come up a lot in the rear end. That's gonna kind of keep you from doing those flips. But once you get past 60 miles an hour, there ain't nothing stopping this thing from taking off. It's just gonna hit that, and then it's gonna kind of do a bunny hop and then catch air. And that's what's led to all this here in the back. So other than that though, the wheelie bar does a great job. They sell rubber wheels for it. I don't really like them because the tires come off right away. Just buy another set of plastic wheels and you'll be good to go. I will say, if you want to use some thread lock on the threads when you put them into here, it kind of prevents it from coming out, but in the end, these will come unscrewed eventually. You'll just have to tighten them up, kind of monitor it. Other than that, it's pretty much fine. The front end we've got, this is RPM. One of the upgrades I did right out of the box was the RPM front bumper. It really helps mitigate front end impacts, especially protecting those caster blocks. So if you do hit something, if you hit it right here, it's not going to just rip off your front wheel. It's going to give it extra cushion, so when it does hit that front wheel, it's not going to crack that caster block. So that's a good upgrade. It also prevents the damage to the front of the body. It just kind of keeps it nice and neat. Without it, you get a little bit of like chew marks here on the front where you hit stuff and it kind of smashes into that front bumper, kind of knocks the paint off a little bit. So that would be one of the options I would pick right out of the box. Other than that, Rustler is pretty simple. It's going to cut and shoot. I mean, the VXL version, all the way around, you've got 5 by 11 millimeter ball bearings, so you don't have to worry about that for a long time. Just keep them clean. If you get them wet, you know, blow them out with some cleaner and then oil them back up. Pretty simple, but just take care of them. And if you don't, they're really cheap to buy. I mean, you can get them really cheap. So even off-brand ones. Anything else on this car that's really worth noting? From the XL5 to the VXL, of course, you're going to get metal camber links here versus the stock plastic ones. You know, I've broken one plastic one in my entire life. Are they absolutely necessary? If you're not taking this thing to a skate park and beating it, no, you're going to be fine with your plastic links. So if you have an XL5 and you want to upgrade to something like this, I'd spend your money on the motor system and the transmission before I'd change out any of the links. I think that's just kind of an extra bling option. It does help. I'm not saying it doesn't, but in the long run, I think you're going to get more value out of changing your motor system and, you know, batteries and transmission. That's another thing I have to tell you about. Is transmission on this guy is full metal, and if you buy an XL5 that was made in the last 10 years, it's going to have a metal one as well, and you don't have to worry about it. And they advertise that when you buy it. It says brushless ready on it. That means it's got the Metal Gear transmission. So that's just going to be able to handle the brushless power. These older ones up here, they have a all nylon gear transmission, and the brushless power just kind of shreds them. So but yeah, if you got a Metal Gear transmission, this thing can take the brushless power, whether you want to go something like this, just a cheap knockoff Chinese kind of dealio. It works just fine. You'll get moderate power out of that. Or if you want to go with something really big like this 70 millimeter can, this XL motor, 540 XL, you can do that as well. And it'll take it. Can you keep it on the ground? That's up to you. Yeah, I mean, it can take whatever you want to throw at it. When you get into something like this though, you're going to have trouble with your drive shafts in the rear. They're going to pop. This is when you're going to want to go to a steel solution like the X-Duty from MIP. But the platform itself can handle it. Upgrades abound. I mean, I think every part on this car there is an aftermarket upgrade for, from RPM or STRC, places like that. I struggle to say Integy because some of their parts are just kind of weak, and they're cast aluminum, low quality aluminum, and they're just, you're not going to get a lot of mileage out of them. So Traxxas also makes aluminum hop-ups. One thing you want to stay away from, in my experience, is the aluminum arms. They look cool, they're blingy and they're awesome looking, but you need a little bit of flex, especially on this platform. Unless you're going to go complete aluminum, and then you're still going to bend stuff. You're going to break pins, you're going to bend arms. I would go with the Traxxas HD arms. That's a newer upgrade for this platform, which basically is just these arms just beefed up, and you can get them in different colors, and they're using a different nylon plastic. They're kind of like RPM arms, but they're a lot stiffer, and they're just as strong. So yeah, RPM is another option too. I have them on several vehicles. They work great. They've got a lot of flex. So if you're looking for something ultra precise, if you're doing those speed runs again, not sure if RPM is going to give you the best handling characteristics, but they're there. And if you're going to bash and you're going to go jump this thing 20 feet in the air and then land it up like this, RPM is going to be your option. So yeah, it's just a Rustler. And that's really all it is. That's all there is to it. It's a great platform for the beginner if you want to get the XL5. Great Christmas present. The VXL, for somebody that's had 1 or 2 RCs in the past, yeah, I could see it. But these things are a handful. Once you get them past 3S, once you go to 3S, I mean, it comes alive. Even on 2S, this thing's wicked. I mean, you're going to be pulling wheelies up to 10, 15 miles an hour. You can pull rolling wheelies all day long. And the only limitation is going to be the stock tires. They're going to burn pretty quick, especially on asphalt. As far as off-road goes, yeah, you can run this thing on a track. You can race it in a probably like a sportsman, beginner, kind of first-timer class. And you'll do okay. But the platform itself is kind of clunky, and it's not going to handle like anything else on the track. I mean, you stick this on the track by itself, you'll have a blast. But once you get out there with the Associateds and all this other stuff out there now, you're going to be at the end of the pack. It's just the platform. It's old. It's 20 years old, probably older, and they haven't changed any geometry on it. So it is what it is. As far as a basher, a street player, you want to turn this thing into a drag car, I mean, all day long. Great platform to play with. You want to turn it into a monster truck, like a stretch Stampede, Rustler's the way to go. I mean, there's nothing wrong with this car. It's the way it sits. Needs no upgrades, needs nothing to have a great time. So, all right guys, this has been Chris Super Fast RC. It's been my review of the Traxxas Rustler VXL 2021 edition. Great car. It's been out for a long time. Yeah, we'll see you in the next one, guys. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.